Hi everyone, welcome to Greeklish Outdoors. Today we are looking at a new tent, the Shell2 by 3F UL Gear. So, stick around. So I purchased this online at the 3F UL Gear's website, and at the time they had a discount code, so I got this tent for just £116. This, like many other 3F UL Gear tents, is lightweight and promises to give superb value for money, but we're going to put that to the test today. First up, what do you get inside the bag? So first of all, we get a nice stuff sack. It unravels and there's Velcro that secures the two sides together. The stuff sack has got loads of room to pack your tent down in at a later date. This is a really good feature. Then you get the contents of the bag. In this bag you have the tent stakes. You get a total of 10. You get a repair tube to repair the poles in case you break them, and you also get a repair kit just in case you damage the tent. Next up in this bag you get your footprint, which comes free with this tent. This goes under the base of the tent to give that extra bit of protection from the ground. In this last bag you get your aluminium tent pole. There's only one tent pole, collapsible tent pole here. I'll go into the reasons why later on. And lastly you get your inner and your outer fly. So as I just mentioned, there's only one tent pole that comes with this tent, and the reason for that is that you also need 2 trekking poles. So this is not uncommon for 3F UL Gear tents. The Lanshan 1, which I previously reviewed, also required a trekking pole, but this tent is somewhat of a hybrid tent. So as with many 3F UL Gear tents, there are no instructions on how to put it up. So I'm going to have to do this based on the pictures I've seen online and hopefully a little bit of common sense. So before we put the inner in, let's take a look inside. Wow, there is tons of space in here. Even if you want to use this without the inner, I think it'd be more than comfortable, especially in the summertime. Right, let's go through a few of the facts and figures about this tent. So the outer fly is a 15D silicone stroke PU ripstop nylon, which has a hydrostatic head of 5,000 millimeters. The inner is a 20D nylon mesh. The floor is a 20D nylon with PU coating and is waterproof up to 6,000 millimeters. The footprint included with this tent is a 68D silicone PU polyester material. The total weight for this tent, including the trekking poles, is estimated at 1,920 grams or 4 pounds and 4 ounces, which for a very large 2-person tent, I don't think is so bad. So the dimensions on this tent are 215 centimeters by 120 centimeters by 110 centimeters. That works out as 85 inches by 47 inches by 43 inches. When it is packed down, the dimensions are 50 by 13 centimeters, which is 19 by 5 inches. All the zips are YKK and are very, very smooth indeed. Each of the entrances has a nice wide storm flap to protect the zip from any rain. It has 2 large vestibules. On either side of the inner, there is a small part of material from the footprint which you can put your gear on to keep it off the ground. This tent should be fantastic in summertime. These 2 large entrances and the mesh inside will allow a lot of airflow through here. The version I have is the 3-season tent, and it does have the mesh. There is a 4-season version in the future which will replace the mesh with a more solid material in there to prevent the drafts which you might get in higher winds and the cold. Because there's such a large gap between the outer fly and the inner tent, condensation shouldn't really be a problem. Also, the tent has 2 large ventilation flaps on either side. One thing I can say is I do like the colour of this tent. In khaki they call it, and it's nice having the black interior and ground sheet contrast. Right, so tonight I am going to be testing out this tent. I'll be spending the night in it, trying it out, see what it's like for space and comfort. Unfortunately, as it stands, there is no rain forecast for tonight, so I won't be able to check its waterproof ability, but we'll give it a good test and see how usable it is through the day and night today. I have my Robun's insulated mat and my Nature Hike sleeping bag, so we should be pretty comfortable in here. It shouldn't get below about 5 degrees tonight, so pretty mild for a winter's night, and hopefully we're gonna have a good night in here. Right, as you can see, I've got my gear in there, my sleeping pad, my sleeping bags, and there's, plenty of room. There's definitely enough room for 2 people, especially the fact you've got these large vestibules and you can put your gear outside if you need to. I like to have my gear in with me, and I like a little bit more space. So yeah, I'm all set up and ready for the night. So because the vestibules are so big, I'm able to store my table and chair in the side which I'm not going to be getting in and out of. So therefore it's going to protect it in case there is any rain tonight. I can quickly get at it in the morning. We're getting a bit of moisture now as the air temperature is getting cooler. As this has got silicone coating, the material will stretch and potentially sag a little bit, but it's very easy to adjust all these guy lines. Right, I'm in the tent. I'm sat on my air mattress at the moment, and if I sit up tall, my head does touch the inside of the mesh, but the mesh has probably about 15 centimeters worth of gap between the actual outer fly, so there's no risk of me pushing that into the top and getting moisture through. As you can see, the inner walls do sag in a little bit, and if there were 2 people in here, that might be a problem. However, I had this issue with the Lanshan 1, and people did tell me if I tightened up the outer pitch a little bit, then this would also be pulled out. I'm not sure about this one though, because apart from the floor anchor points and the 3 which are in the middle here, there isn't really anything to pull the top corners of the inner out anymore. But in here at the moment, I'm completely comfortable and fine. It feels shaded from the wind outside in here, so I'm hopefully going to have a comfortable night. As you can see, my head is not quite touching one end, and yet there's still plenty of space for my feet. They don't touch the bottom. Even for me, and I'm 6'2", there is plenty of room in here. One thing I didn't mention earlier on when I was describing the tent is that there are 2 pockets, one at each side. Quite a generous side to put in your little knickknacks and things. And of course a hook to put up your lantern too. So all in all, I'm pretty happy in here. Right, I'm all ready for bed now. It's freezing cold at the moment, so I'm looking forward to getting in my sleeping bag. So far, it's been great in here. Plenty of room, really easy to get in and out of the tent. But I'll bring you back in the morning and I'll let you know how the night was. So I made it through the night in the tent. Overall, I was very comfortable. There was plenty of room inside. The only reason I didn't get much sleep last night is because my sleeping bag kept sliding off my mat. But that's no fault of the tent. It was a cold night last night and there was quite a lot of condensation on the inner fly. However, none dripped through the inner mesh into the tent. Although I didn't see the condensation drip through on its own during the night, when moving around this morning, it's quite easy as a tall person like me to touch the mesh and push it against the outer fly, and therefore water then will come straight through. Even though there's quite a lot of moisture on the tent, it didn't sag too much at all like I was expecting it to. It kept its shape very, very well. Yes, it is advertised as a 2-person tent, and yes, you can get 2 people inside this. However, for me, it is perfect for 1 person and your gear inside. I think this tent will be really, really good in summertime due to the fact that it does have quite a lot of ventilation in there. However, I think if it was a really, really cold night and there was a lot of frost, then I think the material would stretch and sag and you'd have to make some minor adjustments in the night. But so far tonight, I didn't really have a problem. One feature of the tent that many of you may like is the fact that you can put the outer up first, and therefore if it is raining you don't have to get your inner all wet. And due to that, you can also use this outer on its own in summertime if it gets too hot. I won't be doing that here in Greece, of course, because there are far too many mosquitoes, but in other climates maybe that'll be suitable for you. So that was the 3F UL Gear Shell2. Overall, I really liked it. There are some cons with this tent in the fact that there was no instructions to put it up, which does make life a little bit difficult. Due to the fact it is a little bit of a pain to put up, I wouldn't recommend this for a multi-day, multi-site camping trip. But if you're going to camp in one place for a day or two, this is great. I love the fact that the vestibules are so big, so even if there are 2 of you in this, which there is room for, then there's plenty of space for your gear. And the fact that it's got that extra ground sheet where you can put your bags and things not on the grass outside is another bonus for me. The materials feel of good quality. I couldn't see any loose threads on this. The fact that it is under 2 kilograms for a tent which is so big is really, really impressive. For the price I paid for this, fantastic value, to be honest. It's a big tent. It feels like it'll do well in the weather too. Obviously I couldn't test it in the rain today. I'm in Greece. Rain is not very common here, but I will be taking it out again in the future. Once there's a rainstorm, I will be testing this out and I will let you know in an update video. So that was the Shell2 by 3F UL Gear. Do let me know what you thought of this tent in the comment section below. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But for now, thanks for watching. Take care. Much love. See you next time.